Welcome to the Now. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm Mica Burton.
Pokemon Go took over everyone's phones for a quick hot flash in the pan last summer, but what's this? A new challenger appears?
Insert Pokemon battle music here. The Pokemon Company surprised everybody this week by releasing a brand new Pokemon mobile game with zero hoopla. And look out, trainers, because this one is designed to make way more money than Pokemon Go ever did, thanks to crazy microtransactions.
Plus, we've finally got access to Pokemon Bank for Sun and Moon, and maybe, possibly, some news that makes the rumored Pokemon Stars on Nintendo Switch a little bit less of a sure thing.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's sad.
I know.
But first, let's talk about the newly released Pokemon Duel, which is now live on iOS and Android. Now, before you get too excited, this seemingly out-of-the-blue game has actually already been out in Japan since last year.
Yeah, unlike Pokemon Go, which revolves around finding and catching Pokemon in the real world, Duel is all about the mechanics that go neglected, which is watching Pokemon beat the shit out of each other for your entertainment. But even so, it's still not a traditional Pokemon game because it's a strategy game.
Like a Pokemon RTS?
Yeah, kinda.
Interesting. According to Pokemon Company, this is a mobile strategy game where players deploy digital Pokemon figures, making strategic moves and setting figures against each other in battle as they try to reach the goal in their opponent's territory.
So, the game is set up on a grid, and your job is to get one of the Pokemon from your team of 6 over to the other side. Each Pokemon figure has different strengths and a set number of steps it can take, so you'll have to plan your moves strategically. You can block your opponent from advancing and, of course, battle them to keep them away from your territory.
Instead, it's a combo of RNG and rock, paper, scissors. Different moves trump other moves, and your move is decided at random by the game. So there's no mnemonic tricks that fighting is good for flying because you can't punch a bird and all of that.
So one of the big stories about Pokemon Go last year was just about how much stinking money it made. So naturally, that's what people are already wondering about Pokemon Duel, and some of the more recent figures put Pokemon Go as generating as much as $950 million in revenue for 2016.
Wow!
That's a lot for a free game.
So much. But probably to the horror of Pokemon trainers everywhere, Duel's design is way more cash grabby than anything done in Pokemon Go. It totally makes use of things like loot boxes, gems, plates, and boosters with items of varying value that you can combine together and then use to help your Pokemon team out.
It sounds like they went out to pretty much every mobile game out there, looked at their monetization, and then decided to use all of them at once.
Yeah, because gems and loot boxes and this and that, it's like, how can we make more money and slam it all into one place?
Well, with Pokemon Duel, apparently. So that might be some of the reasons that the Pokemon Company didn't really broadcast the game's release all that much. They just sort of dropped it out of nowhere. Still, it is an official Pokemon game, and with Pokemon riding an even bigger wave than ever, it could help generate just a stupid amount of money for them, especially when combined with Pokemon Go's daily earnings. Obviously, Pokemon Company only gets a share of that since it's actually Niantic's game and they licensed it and everything, but still, if they can make money from a couple mobile games, why not?
Seriously. In other awesome Pokemon news, Pokemon Bank has finally made its way to Pokemon Sun and Moon, meaning you can now transfer all of your Pokemon across the series' main titles in a big ol' orgy of Pocket Monsters.
I know a certain 11-year-old who's going to be very happy about that because he's been farming Oris and X and Y for months since he beat the new ones. In celebration of Bank's release, all Bank users will be getting Mew's free Z Crystal if you're paying the annual $4.99 fee, that is.
Exciting.
So
$4.99
not so
Crystal.
free.
Yeah. These random surprise announcements from the Pokemon Company will no doubt leave trainers a little more hopeful about the much-rumored please, Pokemon Stars, which skipped out on Nintendo's Switch event earlier this month. Stars has been popular rumor for months as a mainline Pokemon game by Game Freak for Switch, which would be a big first in the series and Nintendo consoles.
Yeah, but when Nintendo didn't really mention that at their Switch event as one of Switch's upcoming games, it left some fans a little bit worried that it either doesn't exist or won't be out anytime soon. But hey, the release of Duel shows that the Pokemon Company gives zero fucks about your traditional PR schemes, and they'll announce Stars if it exists on their own timeline.
However,
so that's a good note. Okay.
There might be a little more cause for concern in regards to Pokemon Stars, because today, Telegraph is also reporting that Duel is expected to make its way to Switch, which raises the question, what if Pokemon Duel is a long-rumored Switch game, not Pokemon Stars?
After all, just stay with us here. After all, we don't actually have confirmation that Pokemon Stars is really real. All we have are some leaks. One from Nintendo insiders like Laura Dale, sources at Eurogamer, who, while they were right about a lot of things regarding Switch's hardware, were sometimes a little bit less accurate about some of the Switch's initial software lineup.
Dale, along with Eurogamer, first talked about Pokemon Stars late last year, indicating that it would be the third installment of Sun and Moon, as Pokemon games are to do, and would feature additional Pokemon not found in 3DS games.
However, those same leakers were wrong about a few games like Splatoon, which then turned out to be a sequel, not a port, as well as the Switch event reveal of Beyond Good and Evil 2. They said that was going to happen, it didn't, plus the release of Mario Odyssey as a Switch launch title.
To be fair, many early previews of Splatoon say that it doesn't quite feel like a full-on sequel, so it could be that Nintendo changed gears on it late in development.
It's like 1.5.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 may exist, but perhaps got pulled from the event roster, and Mario Odyssey is reportedly finished with the development, so Nintendo might have decided late in the game to hold its release for later this year.
Still, the closest thing to any actual confirmation we have that Pokemon Stars might be real comes from Pokemon Company President Tsunekazu Ishihara, and all he said is that Pokemon Company is working on games for Switch, so it is possible that Duel is going to be that game rather than Pokemon Stars, which I think we can all agree would be a bit of a bummer for a lot of people.
Mega bummer. Fortunately, it doesn't seem too likely, as there are a bunch of other tiny little things pointing to Stars being the real deal, like some of the assets and clues people have found by plumbing Sun and Moon's depths, potentially unrevealed new Pokemon, high-res models, and the fact that modders have been able to scale the game up to 1080p with relative ease, leading them to believe that the base game is there to turn it into a console game, and there's so many little hidden Easter eggs that just give us hope.
Now, it is also possible that Duel itself isn't actually coming to Switch at all, and Telegraph simply misreported this, or that both Pokemon Stars and Pokemon Duel will be coming to Switch. Now, for her part, Dale is now reporting that Stars will probably be at E3, as it's a late year title, so that's also possible.
If you need semantics to keep hope alive, it's also worth noting that Ishihara's comments implied future titles, and Pokemon Duel was already completed and released in Japan when he spoke, so there's that.
Well, let's take what we can get.
Yeah.
Either way, we expect Pokemon Company to just keep us coming back for more of, well, whatever it is they end up bringing to Nintendo's console eventually. We're suckers, we'll be there.
Oh my god, 100% be there. So for now, you can just dump your money into Pokemon Duel. Just go ahead, buy all your gems and your stuffs and your things.
Make sure they have no reason to do traditional titles ever again. That's what that will do.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the surprise Pokemon mobile game release and the release of Pokemon Bank for Sun and Moon? Let us know in the comments.
For future updates on how to catch 'em all, like this video and subscribe to the know.
Finger guns.
I did a lot of finger guns this time. Did you know it took me until 16 years old to realize that Ash Ketchum, his last name was Ketchum, for Catch 'em All?
Catch 'em all.
I'm still thinking about that President Pokemon.
President Pokemon.
President